You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Do you know how the space and cybersecurity domains connect? T-Minus Space Cyber Briefing is your guide through the space-based systems that expand the attack surface. I'm Maria Varmazis, host here at N2K CyberWire, and I'm excited to share that T-Minus is back, now as a weekly podcast, the T-Minus Space Cyber Briefing. We have a new dedicated focus on two great things that are even better together, space and cybersecurity. Because whether we realize it or not, we all depend on space-based systems that are, by the way, increasingly internet-enabled. We're talking cybersecurity technologies, policies, and organizations that are securing the critical space-based infrastructure that powers, protects, and connects our lives here on Earth. So join me for T-Minus Space Cyber Briefing, new episodes every Sunday.
Most environments trust far more than they should, and attackers know it. ThreatLocker solves that by enforcing default deny at the point of execution. With ThreatLocker Allow listing, you stop unknown executables cold. With ring fencing, you control how trusted applications behave. And with ThreatLocker DAC, Defense Against Configurations, you get real assurance that your environment is free of misconfigurations and clear visibility into whether you meet compliance standards. ThreatLocker is the simplest way to enforce zero-trust principles without the operational pain. It's powerful protection that gives CISOs real visibility, real control, and real peace of mind. ThreatLocker makes zero-trust attainable, even for small security teams. See why thousands of organizations choose ThreatLocker to minimize alert fatigue, stop ransomware at the source, and regain control over their environments. Schedule your demo at threatlocker.com/N2K today. Meta exposes 20,000 Instagram accounts through a support tool bug. CISA warns of active exploitation of SolarWinds ServeView. WordPress sites face takeover through a widely used plugin. A new GAFGit variant broadens its reach. Pink extortionists steal cloud data with vishing and legitimate tools. Plus allegations against IBM and AT&T. A dark web drug dealer gets 26 years. And our Monday business brief. Tim Starks from CyberScoop has the latest of the ongoing debate over staffing and budget cuts at CISA. And NATO lets Ukraine play the bad guy. It's Monday, June 8th, 2026. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great as always to have you with us. Happy Monday. Meta says a flaw tied to its AI-powered account recovery system allowed unauthorized attackers to take over thousands of Instagram accounts. The issue involved Meta's high-touch support tool, which helps locked-out users regain access. According to Meta, the tool functioned as intended, but a separate bug failed to verify that a password reset request matched the account's registered email address. As a result, password reset links were sent to unassociated email addresses. Meta reported that 20,225 Instagram users were affected. Exposed information may have included contact details, profile data, messages, photos, videos, stories, and account activity. Account recovery systems can become attractive attack targets when verification controls fail. Users without two-factor authentication were especially vulnerable. Meta has disabled the affected tool, invalidated reset links, and is reviewing similar recovery processes across its platforms. Separately, Meta is asking a federal judge to hold NSO Group in contempt of court, alleging the spyware vendor continued targeting WhatsApp users despite a permanent injunction prohibiting it from doing so. According to Meta, investigators disrupted NSO-linked social engineering activity that attempted to lure users to malicious websites outside WhatsApp through phishing-style links. The company also reported the creation of test accounts and groups on the platform and released indicators of compromise tied to the campaign. Meta did not disclose when the activity occurred, how many users were targeted, or whether any compromises were successful. The allegations raise questions about the effectiveness of legal restrictions against commercial spyware vendors. Meta argues that continued activity would represent a direct violation of a court order issued after its earlier legal victory against NSO over Pegasus-related attacks. CISA has confirmed that attackers are actively exploiting a denial-of-service vulnerability in the SolarWinds ServU file transfer servers and has directed federal civilian agencies to remediate it by June 19th. The flaw allows remote unauthenticated attackers to crash ServU services by sending specially crafted HTTP post requests containing a deflate header. SolarWinds has released a fix and recommends patching immediately or blocking affected requests through a web application firewall. ServU is widely used in regulated sectors where file transfer ability is critical. While the flaw enables service disruption rather than system takeover, denial-of-service attacks can interrupt operations and potentially divert defenders' attention from other malicious activity. A critical vulnerability in the Everest Forms Pro WordPress plugin has been actively exploited for months, allowing attackers to seize control of vulnerable websites. The flaw affects the plugin's complex calculation feature and allows remote unauthenticated attackers to inject and execute PHP code on a server. According to Defiant, attackers have used the bug to create administrator accounts and deploy web shells. The issue was patched in March, but exploitation began in April. Defiant says it has blocked more than 29,000 attack attempts. With more than 100,000 sites using Everest Forms, unpatched systems remain exposed to full site compromise. Defenders should update immediately and review administrator accounts for signs of unauthorized access. Researchers at Fortinet have identified Coxmo, a new variant of the GAFGit botnet that targets DDWRT routers and can spread across a wide range of Internet-connected devices. The malware supports multiple CPU architectures and is delivered by exploiting an unauthenticated remote code execution flaw. Fortinet says Coxmo uses a modular design that allows operators to update exploits, expand targeting, and enhance lateral movement independently of the core payload. Once installed, it scans for vulnerable systems, brute forces weak SSH and Telnet credentials, establishes persistence, and removes competing malware and tools. The botnet is built primarily for DDoS attacks and supports 19 attack methods. Fortinet notes that its architecture and feature set demonstrate a higher level of sophistication than earlier GAFGit-based malware, highlighting the continued evolution of IoT botnet threats. Researchers have identified a new financially motivated cybercrime group called Pink, which is using voice phishing and stolen cloud credentials to conduct data theft and extortion campaigns. According to Palo Alto Networks Unit 42, the group launched a data leak site in late May and is believed to be connected to the broader COM network. Pink impersonates IT staff in phone calls and directs employees to credential harvesting websites. Once access is obtained, the attackers use compromised Microsoft 365 accounts and built-in Microsoft tools to rapidly collect data from OneDrive and SharePoint. Victims then receive extortion demands through internal email and Microsoft Teams messages. Gurukul reports that Pink also uses fileless techniques designed to evade detection and hide from security analysis tools. The group's reliance on legitimate accounts and cloud services highlights the growing challenge of detecting identity-based attacks that avoid traditional malware. A newly unsealed lawsuit accuses IBM and AT&T of failing to implement basic security controls and concealing evidence of nation-state intrusions into IBM cloud environments. The allegations come from former IBM Vice President of Threat Intelligence William Barlow, who filed a False Claims Act lawsuit in 2020. According to the complaint, AT&T managed VPN connections lacked logging, network segmentation was inadequate, and security monitoring gaps prevented investigators from fully assessing suspected intrusions linked to the Chinese threat group APT-10. The lawsuit cites an internal report that identified more than 56,000 indicators of potential APT-10 activity between 2013 and 2016, but said the activity could not be fully investigated because logs were unavailable. The case highlights how missing visibility and monitoring can undermine incident response and leave organizations unable to determine the scope of a compromise. IBM disputes the allegations and noted that the U.S. Department of Justice declined to intervene in the case. A California man has been sentenced to more than 26 years in federal prison for trafficking fentanyl and methamphetamine through Nemesis Market, one of the world's largest dark web marketplaces. According to documents, 39-year-old Darren Hughes operated a vendor account on Nemesis Market and used free methamphetamine samples to attract customers. Prosecutors said Hughes sold meth and fentanyl pills to an undercover law enforcement agent on multiple occasions in 2023 in exchange for cryptocurrency. When he was arrested in June 2023, authorities found approximately 672 grams of meth and a loaded ghost gun in his vehicle. The case underscores law enforcement's continued focus on dark web marketplaces and cryptocurrency-enabled drug trafficking. It also highlights the lasting impact of international operations that dismantled major criminal platforms such as Nemesis Market back in 2024. Turning to our Monday business briefing, investors continue pouring money into AI and cybersecurity, with several companies announcing new funding rounds and strategic acquisitions aimed at accelerating growth. Observability platform CoreLogix led the pack with a $200 million Series F round to expand its AI capabilities and enterprise reach. AI security startup Gray Swan raised $40 million to scale security for organizations deploying AI, while AI governance company Jordi AI secured $30 million to support enterprise adoption of AI agents. Attack surface management provider Mach-N raised $15 million, and security compliance startup Cracky and biometrics firm Voxmind also announced new funding. Meanwhile, consolidation in the sector continued. Industrial cybersecurity company Dragos acquired embedded device security specialist Phosphorus to expand protection across operational technology environments. Engineering firm Cyient also agreed to acquire AI-focused data engineering company TAO Digital Solutions. The activity reflects continued demand for technologies that help organizations secure, govern, and operationalize AI at scale. Coming up after the break, Tim Starks from CyberScoop discusses the ongoing debate over staffing and budget cuts at CISA, and NATO lets Ukraine play the bad guy. Stay with us. When it comes to mobile application security, good enough is a risk. A recent survey shows that 72% of organizations reported at least one mobile application security incident last year, and 92% of responders reported threat levels have increased in the past 2 years. GuardSquare delivers the highest level of security for your mobile apps without compromising performance, time to market, or user experience. Discover how GuardSquare provides industry-leading security for your Android and iOS apps at www.guardsquare.com.
No one goes to Hank's for spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
It is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Tim Starks. He is a senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
So a couple of stories that you have published here in rapid fire order, and both of them have to do with CISA and some of the challenges they're facing, and I guess fair to say some support that they're getting from some of the Democrats on the Hill. What's going on here, Tim?
Yeah, so Mark Wayne Mullen was on the Hill, the DHS secretary, new in the job, testifying about DHS's budget. And the very next day, that was in the House Homeland Security Committee. The very next day, the House Appropriations Committee released its planned fiscal 2027 appropriations bill for DHS, which both of these cases we learned a little bit about plans for CISA and what the administration and Mullen intend to do with it.
And the news is?
Well, some interesting news in both cases, right? One is that Mullen talked about exactly how he wants CISA to be staffed. You might recall that before the second Trump administration, there were 3,400 people at CISA, which is a decent number. That's been cut pretty dramatically. It's down to 2,200, which is even down from the last time we heard from DHS about how deeply they'd cut into it. But, there'd been a little bit of talk about them wanting to rehire some people because some of the people were people they pushed out. Some of the people left on their own. And so I guess they've decided they want to get it back to more like 2,800 people.
Okay.
So that's interesting information. It's a little out of line with what the actual Trump budget itself calls for. But that was produced before Mullen was had really taken over the helm of DHS. And on the appropriation side, going back to what the Trump administration has said they want to do with CISA, this would be a $250 million cut for CISA under the bill that then the appropriators approved on Friday. So a little bit of some shifting numbers here in the sense of what is the target? What are we going to end up with? It's a little confusing. And when you talk about the Democrats getting that support, they were very critical of this. They said this is the wrong time to be doing this when we have all the threats we do, and CISA being the important agency it is in cyber. So they have the support from Democrats, but with the House numbers being the way they are, it's almost certainly going to go through the way the Republicans wanted to see it go through.
So there's little chance of any sort of meeting in the middle here when it comes to both the funding and the staffing?
I suspect that there is not a lot of room for meeting in the middle. I mean, it's entirely possible that Mullen could go to the appropriators and say, hey, I know what we said we wanted, but can you up that a little bit? I mean, they'll have, this is a long process that's getting underway. With just the very first bill being just released and approved at the subcommittee level. They've got to approve it at the committee level. They've got to approve it in the House. They've got to approve it in the Senate. Then they got to meet in the middle on that, whatever House and Senate do. I think the Senate will probably be more inclined to give CISA a little bit more money than the House if we're going by recent years. So there will be room for the potential to meet a little bit in the middle, but maybe not in the middle between what Democrats want and what Republicans want, but more between what the Senate wants and the House wants and what Mullen might say or not say to appropriators about this is what he wants for CISA.
Has there been any specific information from Republicans over why they want to execute these cuts, or is it is it just broader, vaguer cutting of government in general?
It's a little bit of both, I think. The message from House Republicans has been that they don't actually really want to cut CISA that much. Andrew Garbarino, the House Homeland Security Chairman, has said he's concerned about this. We've seen lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say CISA is being cut too deeply. I think partly this is Republicans doing some of what Trump wants. The numbers are difficult to get into sometimes because of apples to apples comparisons between what Trump says the budget is or will be. But this is a less steep cut under any measurement than what Trump wants. So it feels like they're doing a little bit of we don't want to cut the agency that badly. We're still going to cut it for you, Trump. But they also have the message when they are cutting CISA that Trump has used, which is this agency has been weaponized and was doing a bunch of work that it didn't need to be doing. And you and I have talked about this before. At a certain point, you have control of that agency. So if you're still cutting it because it's still somehow not quote unquote on mission, then I don't know who's responsible for that, right? At a certain point, it's your agency. If you say it's still not on mission, then you think you need to make some changes to get it on mission, make the changes already.
Yeah, I guess is my perception of CISA being kind of stuck in the middle as a political football, is that still accurate, or have we gotten past that? Trump's animus towards the organization, of course, is well documented.
I don't see any sign other than perhaps that Mullen talked about higher staffing levels than what the original Trump budget proposed and where they are now. I don't see any sign that that agency isn't still hated essentially by Trump. Maybe Mullen can shift things the way he wants them to go with the president. If he has the presidency here, I don't think we have a strong sense yet of the degree to which he is an extremely trusted advisor. With Trump, the people he loves, he gives them what they want, basically. He gives them more responsibilities. Mullen's just too new in the job for us to get a sense of that. He has talked about, having these unique authorities at CISA and how he believes that they're not being used correct. They need to be used better. So it sounds like he's a guy who would like to see CISA be a little bit more muscular than it is now, but he's got an uphill climb there, I think. For one, the agency still doesn't have a director. We hear names every now and then, but then they turn out to not be accurate. It doesn't seem like an agency that's getting a lot of attention. Now, on the director front, I've heard different things about what's going on there. That there have been some names bandied about legitimately from the White House and from the agency, but they just haven't quite met on those names yet. But I don't know if the fact that they don't have a director means that this is definitively a sign that the agency is still in the doghouse. But it's not a good sign that it's not in the doghouse.
Right. I would push back a little on your statement and say maybe it's not so much that they're not getting attention, that they're not getting love.
Oh, you had to go and make it sentimental.
Well, so what kind of timeline are we on here for things being settled and the folks at CISA knowing where they stand?
With the way this administration has handled agencies, I don't know if that will come. I don't know that that's a relief that is ever going to happen while Trump is president, frankly. I think everybody's going to be unsettled in all of their jobs in the federal government, basically until Trump is no longer president. But in terms of getting things more settled than they are now, I think if the administration wants to put its person in the CISA role, if they want to get their pick, they're probably going to need to do it before November. That's some of the talk that people I've been talking to about, because they might not get who they want if Democrats take over. It's entirely possible they could pick somebody who's nonpartisan and non-controversial, but that's not exactly the history of this administration. And then in terms of the budget, that's been a mess too. DHS has had funding lapses repeatedly in the last year and a half. I don't see any sign that that's probably going to abate anytime soon either. But if we're talking about normal appropriations process, they'd be in line to get this all settled by October and know what their agency was going to have for a budget. I'm not confident that that's going to happen on the time frame. It hasn't happened that way in Congress in a long time in general. But typically DHS has been an agency that's toward the front of the line, right? Like it's a bill, it's a bill that typically moves a little faster than the other bills, but with everything going on with ICE and all the other things that the administration is doing on immigration, it's much more at the end of the line these days.
Yeah. All right. Interesting times.
Yeah.
Tim Starks is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, thanks so much for taking the time for us.
Thanks, Dave.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Stock up and save big on shoes, tops, dresses, accessories, and more must-haves for summer. Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
And finally, in a NATO exercise in Poland, the fictional nation of Peranza suffered a very bad week. First came a cyber attack that knocked out the power grid, then a flood, then a banking crisis. Behind it all was the equally fictional state of Kharkiv, which flooded social media with AI-generated messages blaming government incompetence and conveniently offering help. The twist? Ukrainian officials played the role of the disinformation operators. The 3-day simulation held at NATO's Joint Analysis Training and Education Centers in Bydgoszcz tested how governments respond to the kind of information warfare Ukraine faces daily. Ukrainian participants launched coordinated influence campaigns while allied teams worked to maintain public trust and communicate during the crisis. By most accounts, the Ukrainians were faster, more creative, and more adept with AI, though judges said their fictional propaganda effort lost points for narrative consistency. The exercise reflects NATO's growing effort to learn from Ukraine's wartime experience. Officials say the collaboration improves alliance readiness and helps Ukraine build closer interoperability with NATO, even as membership remains distant. Participants also acknowledged a familiar reality. Simulations can teach valuable lessons, but they struggle to capture the pressure, uncertainty, and emotional intensity of a real conflict. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's lead producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our contributing host is Maria Vermazis. Our executive producer is Jennifer Eiben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Have no fear, Chosen Foods is here to defend your favorite foods from the forces of seedy oils and sketchy ingredients. With cooking oils, salad dressings, and mayo, all powered by the good fats from 100% pure avocado oil and simple, delicious ingredients. Chosen Foods.